The 3 R's, recruiting, recruiting, and recruiting, the number one metric that directly correlates to how good and how high teams consistently finish. Ohio State football here, Scarlet and Great, bringing you another 3-person episode. Johnny Bullitt, Florida Corey, and the Game Time Guru, the Boise Buckeye, Shane Larson himself. We will get to my other better-looking co-host here in just a second, but first, we just always want to remind you.
Bring other guys?
Please come back to this channel, subscribe for more content, and we want to know, do you love recruiting videos? Like this video. If you want to see more recruiting content, we will use that as a driver in what we talk about going forward. We're going to talk about a running back, a safety, and a defensive end maybe-ish that Corey is upset about. That may be coming into this class. So, guys, stay tuned right here. We're going to talk about all of these things coming up. I got my co-host here, and guys, let's get right into it. I'll just go into recruit number 1. The people like us to get right into it. Let's do it. We didn't even housekeep very much. So let's go. James Peoples, recent offer, as I understand it right, a 5'10" running back. He's the class of 2024. Shane, give us a little bit of a lowdown where this kid's from and what you know about him.
Yeah, I mean, Peoples is over at Veterans Memorial High School. That's in Texas, in the San Antonio area. Listen, he's listed at 197 pounds or 192 pounds. I believe he's kind of small, 5'10". Yeah, 5'10", 192. That's what 11 Warriors had him at. That's going to change. But I think it's small for a running back. Listen, we were just talking about, like, in our injury update, we were talking about Mayan Williams and the different types of builds of different backs. I mean, to be a physical back at 5'10", which I consider a pretty short back, you got to put on some size. So I'm hopeful that, this guy will put on a little bit of size. To each their own. If they think that's big, it's all relative, I guess. To me, at 5'10", 192 seems like a little guy to me. But the dude's got 10 Division I offers already. But the biggest piece here, he's still a class of 2024, so he's got some time. But it looks like Alfred was, out there watching him, and he's got 1,000 yards on the season, and he's averaging over 10 yards a carry. That's the biggest thing for me, okay? So if you're averaging 10 yards a carry
in Texas,
and now granted, Texas football in some areas is different than others, but you never know, right? Texas football is a different level than most states. If you're averaging 10 yards a carry and you have 18 touchdowns, that shows me that you're a playmaker. So there's a reason that Alfred's over there watching him and giving him this offer this week, because the dude can simply make plays. If you watch his highlight footage, he's fast. So, like, while he might not be the biggest dude in the world, he is quick and he's elusive, which is huge. If you can make moves at the line of scrimmage, which is exactly what Ohio State's running scheme is all about, you've got to be able to make those reads and get shifty and get going and burst. He seems to have that. Now, whether or not he can really catch the ball out of the backfield is another question. I don't know. Right now, they've only listed it as him having 8 receptions on the season. So he's got 8 catches. He's a capable receiver if he needs to, but it looks like they're a run-heavy team anyway. He's got 1,000 yards, like I said, 10.1 yards a carry, 18 touchdowns on the season. And that's pretty good for a guy who's a class.
Well, it sounds like he ends every play in either a first down or a touchdown. So I guess they just won't throw it to him.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just curious, though, like, do we need to load this up with more running backs? I mean, we've got Dallin Hayden coming down the pipeline. Do we need another guy like this? I want to get your guys' opinions on that.
Well, 2 things real quick before I turn it to Corey, because he can elaborate more on all things recruiting. I'm bad about this, and I struggle to care as much as I should. With running back durability issues, I say you always want as many as you can, especially with the transfer portal. And when it comes to his size, after J.K. Dobbins and Mayan Williams, I don't ever want a tall running back again. I want, like, Tony Alford to be out on his recruiting trips, like, must be this short to ride, below this line. Come on up, little fella. You're too. Hey, the Mighty Mouse thing is working. That's all I got to say. Corey, what do you got?
Yeah, so the question is not his size, in my opinion. He's 5'10", is a sophomore. He's probably going to grow a little bit, like you guys were telling me about Jalen Harvey, as we'll get to here in a second. But I imagine he'll be around 5'11", 6 foot, probably 210 or so by the time he gets here. The question I have with every running back Henderson exhibited this in high school. It was like he was 9 yards a carry, 28 touchdown, whatever. He had a stupid stat line, but he's also just a playmaker. He gets to put the ball in his hands. He just goes, right? Our offense is obviously a bit more complicated than that. Can you make the reads? Can you be patient in the blocks? Can you read the right gap? Do you have the gut instinct to hit the right hole? That I haven't seen with Peoples yet because he's still a sophomore. I don't know. He's a playmaker. I haven't really studied a bunch of tape, and I say tape. YouTube film is what I'm going to huddle when I say tape. But it's all going to show great plays. Is he Reggie Bush in the sense that everybody's like, oh, if he's Reggie Bush, that'd be great. But Reggie Bush, Pete Carroll's big concern with Reggie Bush coming out of high school was, can he even see a hole? Or is he just a guy you just put in space and he can take it?
I think he could. I think he was pretty good.
Yeah, he did okay. But anyway, he didn't win the Heisman though, so it's not on record. But anyway, that being said, and if Tony Alford likes him, I'm pretty confident he's a good player because Tony Alford's a great recruiter and understand. I do agree with the depth part though. We are getting Mark Fletcher coming in. So next year you're looking at a depth chart of Trevian Henderson. I'm sure mine will be NFL bound after this year because it's running backs don't have a lot of longevity. You got to strike with irons hot, and he's having a great season. So you got to have Henderson. You're going to have Dallin Hayden, who's going to get a bigger role. Evan Pryor is going to be back. Then you're going to have this kid, or Mark Fletcher, coming in. So it might be a situation where we're only getting one back at a time because we are so backstopped. If we can keep them from transferring. So one back at a time may not be we may be in a situation where you do with quarterbacks. Like we only want one at a time right now because we're so backlogged, and we got it actually the conveyor belt there running smoothly in recruiting for right now.
For what it's worth, real quick before Johnny goes on, I was looking through today, and on the website On3, they do an NIL evaluation. An NIL valuation. And I kind of like their stuff. It's kind of interesting how they do that, but they kind of base it on their performance, and influence, and exposure. Just kind of see what they're worth and whatnot. I'm just going to throw that into the mix today in our conversation. So for Peoples, they have him, I believe, listed at like $6,000 is his NIL valuation. So, and that's just based on his influence and so forth. So it'll continue to grow. He's young as well, but just keeping that in mind.
You could use his last name for a million different things. I got a few things off the top of my head, but that Peoples, oh my goodness.
So
that's pretty
if you're
wild.
looking to be an athlete for Scarlet and Gray, let us know, because if you need to boost that up.
I wonder what my valuation is. That's really interesting that's on there already. I bet if you have a mullet or something, it goes up a lot. I'll leave you on the screen, Shane, so we're gonna rotate. But comment, guys. JP, if you want to see him in this 24 class. Comment JP in the video. And again, I won't jump in the screen and jump back because I don't want to give any of our epileptic viewers a seizure. So we'll just
we saw the analytics. We have a lot of epileptic.
It might be possible. Corey shouldn't make fun. Shane, what about this next guy? We're talking safeties here. Jim Knowles seems to be really good with these guys. So what do you got?
Yeah, Adon Shuler is a stud. He's a 4-star safety. This one's the class of 2023. So he's the oldest of the 3 offers that just happened this week. This dude is a baller. So keep in mind, guys, in August, he committed to Notre Dame. So some people would be saying, why is Ohio State really going after him? Because he seemed to be a hard commit to Notre Dame. But it appears through the conversations that were had, there's a reason that they're going after him, because they actually believe that they can make the flip. Especially with how Notre Dame.
The way Notre Dame's playing?
The way Notre Dame's performed thus far this season, it's really playing to our benefit. Now, this guy is a stud. It might take a little bit to get him to switch and to flip. However, just to keep in mind, this would be a perfect fit for our system. 6 foot, almost 200 pounds, right? The dude is an athlete, 4-star. It kind of depends on – they're calling him the top option, depending on what happens with Caleb Downs, obviously, with that whole situation. But the guy's got 23 Division I offers, including Georgia and Bama, if I'm not mistaken. So this guy, and he's obviously already committed to Notre Dame. This dude out of New Jersey can get the job done. I'm glad that we're going after him. Do I think we actually have a chance? Actually, yeah. I don't think we would.
We recruit New Jersey really well, by the way.
I mean, we've got something to show him. And I think with the way that Ohio State's defense has dramatically shifted in a relatively short amount of time. Like, I mean, it's been a drastic shift in just like that, right? Like completely shifted around from last year. We have a shot at it, especially like Corey, you were saying earlier, along with myself, we were mentioning Notre Dame's performance thus far. You got to think that a guy like Shuler, who's a safety who can contribute pretty much almost immediately, is seeing this, and he's seeing the opportunities that Ohio State has. Dude might make the flip, but curious your guys' thoughts.
Oh, I would just hate to do anything that would hurt Notre Dame's feelings. I don't know if I could live with that. No, I will say this. If I try to make the pitch, if I'm Ryan Day, I look at him. We see what's transpiring with Notre Dame, right? And I say, young man, do you want to go play for Marcus Freeman? And that's all I say. If
he's
says
really
yes,
hip though, he's really cool.
If he says yeah, I feel, I'll just say, all right, well, thank you for your time. Because then he's obviously a moron. What's your thoughts, Corey?
Wow, we're gonna get more trouble because of you. Jeez.
Oh shoot! I didn't mean it. Dang it!
Yeah, there. You know what? It's gonna be edited and slapped all over Twitter.
You can't edit it.
Yeah, no kidding. Anyway, guys, look, this would be a 7th defensive back to this upcoming class that we're adding. I mean, if you ever thought that Jim Knowles loves safeties and defensive backs, or maybe he doesn't have faith in the current room. I don't know, because we're not lacking depth really necessarily. Because 7 DBs in one single class is like, wow, this is like totally revamping the room. Like, this is the new standard we're going to set. And if we're going after Adon Shuler this heavily after having 6 guys in this class, then I would say, okay, well, that makes sense. I guess it just shows you how good they think he is. And again, Caleb Downs takes precedent, but you got to flip him from Bama. Last I checked, Bama's pretty good. I know they lost Tennessee. Bama's still pretty good. Nick Saban, but if I were Ryan Day and Jim Knowles, I'd be like, hey, look, Nick may not be there next couple of years. No.
I heard he hates NIL.
Yeah, he hates NIL. So he's not giving Ferraris out anymore. So you might want to rethink. But anyway, I do agree with what Shane. I want to add on what Shane said. Jim Knowles is showing provable results now. This isn't game 1, game 2. This is like halfway into a season. The defense is a top 10 defense, and this is a great thing when you go to a recruit, right? Ryan Day can go to a recruit now, and he doesn't have to explain anything. Like, yeah, I know we allowed 48 points. I know.
No. What did Urban used to say about proving it versus them talking about proving
theory
it?
Versus testimony?
That's right. He used to say Marcus Freeman has theory. Jim Knowles has testimony.
Yeah, he does. And he has testimony wherever he's been. He did it at Oklahoma State, for crying out loud. So I look at it and say, look, you come play for Jim Knowles. You're going to play because we're going to be ahead of enough people to get you in the game. We're doing that this year. We're blowing people out to the point we can get young players, the reps now. Last year, it was tough to do that. Even Ryan Day admitted that. So now, in a way, Jim Knowles is setting us up nicely for the future on top of everything else. So I think slowly but surely we're seeing it progress and get better and better and better as far as getting the recruits we want and getting the young guys the reps they need for the future.
I like it. Corey acts like he doesn't want to talk much about recruiting. Then you get him going. And I got to say, man, I don't compliment you ever if I can help it. You're really good at this. Like, you're really good at this. Comment AS if you want to see Shuler in this class. And let's go ahead, Shane, at the risk of a seizure. Last up, Jalen Harvey.
Well, we got the small guy, according to Corey here, 6'2", 235 defensive end. He's an edge rusher out of Maryland. This is another class of 2024. This dude also has some offers coming his way, some Division I offers. Looks like he had, I believe it was 15. And by the way, his NIL, if we want to get into that discussion, I think it was listed at, what was it? Let's take a look. What they have him at? 33,000? Maybe it was, no, I think this one was like 14,000 on his NIL. Not that it matters, but just want to put a little fun stuff in there. Edge rusher. So here's the deal. We were talking about it before the broadcast. I mean, we gave him the offer already. This week was that offer. He's excited for it. He's got Penn State looking at him and some other schools as well.
Penn
so
State's
it's obvious that
Maryland. Yeah.
It's obvious that he's got some looks. He's got some talent, but to Corey's point, he might be a little shorter for an edge rusher. Would Ohio State be able to put him there where he's comfortable, or would they be able to utilize his athleticism, which it appears that he is super athletic, according to what I was able to see. Granted, you got to take into consideration it depends on the quality of ball that's being played. But an athlete when you see him. He's the 17th ranked edge rushing prospect in the 2024 class. So out of the whole country, all edge rushers across the country. He's ranked 17th. So the dude
Yeah,
can.
but no,
What?
sorry, I'll let you go, Shane.
No, Corey, you want to talk? Let's bring you in. Bring you in. Let's see what you got to say.
We're used to recruiting like the number 2 or 3 edge rusher in the country. 17 with a 6'2" defensive end. You know, it's just one of those situations where like just trust Larry Johnson at that point. He's finding a guy that he can play about 10 snaps a game that'll get like 4 or 5 sacks.
So he must be phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 10 snaps or 7 snaps, 2.5 sacks. That's what we look for.
I could see that though. I could see Harvey as this though. This is a little bit different prospect than what we usually recruit. Like look at the Keon Keeleys of the world. Who's like 6'10" or whatever the heck he is. He's a giant. I could see that Harvey. They see him as a Leo maybe. That stand-up defensive end, edge rusher, you put him all over the field. He can play linebacker and play edge rusher. I mean, maybe he's athletic enough and they see that. I would definitely trust Larry Johnson's evaluation. Yeah, nice. I could definitely trust Larry Johnson's evaluation over on 3. But that being said, I look at it and say maybe I'm trying to justify it here because I can't see an edge rusher who's 6'2" necessarily. I'm not saying there's never been good edge rushers that are 6'2". Please don't comment. What about I'm just saying, in Ohio State's style of defense, usually we like them a little bit bigger. That being said, maybe they see him in that Leo where they can move him around.
Okay.
I can see him at the
maybe
linebacker
it's Knowles
position.
season. Yeah. Maybe it's just Knowles season. And maybe he's taller. I don't know. Maybe he was 6 foot last year. So
well, they listed him at 210 on the site that I originally saw, and you guys said he was 235 or nothing. Maybe they got the height wrong too. So
it's a dime a dozen. Like the famous comedian, I forget what he says, but he says he's between 6'1" and 6'6", depending on what convenience store he's leaving at the time. So that's about how you got to take some of these sites. Awesome recruiting talk, awesome recruiting show. Thank you, Florida Corey. Thank you, Boise Buckeye. It is great to see you guys as always. Also, guys, let us know. Do you want to see all 3 of us on camera more, or do you just want to see those 2? So I'll leave that up to you guys. As always, goodbye. God bless. Hey, go Bucks.